patience, prayer, or just helping people out in general, but also by gaining renown in the area. That's gonna be a problem, isn't it? The Vale's heading in the right direction, but it isn't exactly packed with people. Maybe we focus on growing the city to make it harder for him to get his hooks in? I was planning on doing that anyway. Should at least buy you a bit of time. I chewed the inside of my cheek and stared out at the waterspout of light. Yeah. Can I do that too? Do what? Control the city. With your renowned path, it'll be possible eventually. It's a lot harder though. Instead of just converting half a city, you'll have to own at least half of its plots outright. So you'd have to figure out a way to get a lot more housing plots. Then you'd have to keep buying them up anytime your city expanded so that you didn't lose control. So you're saying there's a chance? Uh-huh. We lapsed into silence while I mulled all of that over. As Frank had promised, a heavy fog built as we drew closer to Coria, and more fast travel boats ghosted past us with increasing frequency. The boats were easy enough to avoid, as the mist provided great cover and the players aboard couldn't control their vessel's movement, but their constant presence kept me on edge. I pulled up my mini-map, but all I got in return was open ocean. I could hear seabirds, though, and it sounded like waves were breaking nearby. I squinted ahead, trying to peer through the increasingly thick fog. It was sitting heavy on the water, obscuring the air maybe 10 or even 15 feet above the waves. But a wide swath of it was glowing orange off in the distance, where the fog was flickering, as if torches burned within it. We drew a bit closer, and the sounds of the still obscured city rushed in despite the early hour, no doubt carried down the water. Bells ringing in harmony, hammers meeting anvils, the steady murmur of people on the move. A familiar pop sounded behind me. "Dad!" Frank said. "Ned, it's Dad. Hey!" Frank's voice cut off, and I was unsurprised to find he'd been teleported into my sheet. "Really, Klein?" I said, without turning around. I didn't have any interest in spoiling the morning by getting an eyeful of his stupid face or his asymmetrical nipples. Plus, I figured not making eye contact would bother him. "What?" he said. "It's too early for that level of obnoxiousness." "You do remember that you're the one who did that, right?" "That did what?" "That made him annoying. That was literally your stated goal. Yet you keep popping up and being like, wow, he's annoying." "Because he is." I rubbed my face. "Yeah, but that's like over-microwaving a Hot Pocket, then complaining when the sauce melts the top of your mouth." "What?" whined Peter. "All I got out of that is that you're too impatient to let your food cool before you eat it. Is there a point to this little rant of yours? I don't have much time." Every time you show up and immediately shut him down, gets all... I trailed off, sighing. "Could you just try to tolerate him the next time you decide to pop in and piss all over our parade? You're the reason he is the way he is, and I've got to deal with that every single day. The least you could do is try to make it a tiny bit better." "That is not the least I could do." I fought down the urge to throw my hands up in the air. "Forget it. What do you want? I'm kind of busy trying not to steer this boat into an enemy navy that I can't see." "I'm here about House." I squeezed the wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. "What about her?" "She's doing quite well," he said. "And I've made a bit of progress with her latest upgrade. It'll take me a little while to fully integrate the changes, but I think I'll have her combat ready before long." I whipped around as my curiosity got the best of me. Klein looked absolutely haggard. His eyes were bloodshot, and the bags under them were huge.
I think this raid class will serve.
"What's the catch?" He shrugged. "She'll be an average combatant at best. There may be hiccups along the way, but I believe that this upgrade should help her blend in better in the long term." I cocked my head at him. "That's not a catch, that just seems good. You don't do good, at least not where I'm concerned." "I told you I'd try to find a way to get her more fully into the game when I had the time. I may not like you, but I always intended to keep my word. I imagine she'll update you as we go along, provided she agrees to the process. Now, I really..." Klein broke off as a towering wave of golden light surged out of the fog and crashed over us. It swept westward, and though the light vanished almost as quickly as it had appeared, it left the far horizon burning with a honeyed afterglow. "Ripple alert. Player Ozymandias has opened the frost-forged gates and unlocked the Cold Blister Foundry, a new city that is open to all who possess at least 50 skill in blacksmithing or have reached friendly reputation with the frozen dwarves. Klein covered his face with his hands. 5 ripples in a matter of hours. Unbelievable. Is that a problem for the nipple system? I said. Of course it's a problem, he said irritably. Either he wasn't taking the bait, or he hadn't noticed. Thanks to you and that obnoxious axe, the entire game world discovered the ripple system far earlier than I expected, and now I've got thousands upon thousands of people, whole guilds, actively trying to break the world in half. I mean, wasn't that kind of the point of introducing Frank? Yes, but it's happening too quickly. He scratched at his scalp so hard that he left red lines behind. The cathedrals have already started, and now I'm going to have to rebalance the whole thing on the fly, and... He trailed off, suddenly seeming to realize who he was talking to. The game's going to be fine. I'll be in touch if necessary. He popped away. I yanked Frank out of his sheath and stuck him in his loot. That was a weird one. But hey, House is joining the fight here pretty soon. Nice, Frank said, his voice flat. Yeah, I licked my lips. Being preemptively sheathed is annoying, and I'm annoyed that I still find it annoying. Yeah, sorry, man. You did tell him he smells like feet, though. That was a public service announcement, Frank said. I fell on that sword for both of us, plus everyone that Klein ever has to share an elevator with in the future. Honestly, I should get a parade. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. You were correct. He's just the type to retaliate, that's all I'm saying. Maybe it'll get better the next time around. Whatever. It's weird to think House is gonna be out there awkwardly smashing stuff in the face before long. I wonder if it's too late to turn her into a barbarian and live vicariously through her instead of you. You can definitely try. Mist is getting thicker. Help me keep an eye out? Uh-huh. Oh, incoming. 2 fast travel boats punched through the fog at the same time, both alarmingly close and headed directly for me. I guided the boat between them and hunkered down behind the wheel, doing my best to conceal myself within the fog. Red nameplates bloomed to either side of me, maybe 20 feet away. I couldn't make out any of the players' names through the fog, but each of the boats was carrying a handful of people, all of which were marked as hostile. So, I said, once the danger had passed, were those cult members? Because Darling and crew never had red nameplates. Yup, Frank said. We are officially at war, hence all the red. So exciting, right? Exciting is a word that you could use. I squeezed the steering wheel as another boat ghosted out of the mist in front of us and crossed our path. I can't believe we're gonna go skulking into the sewers when there's a perfectly good city to murder our way through, Frank said. So gross. Yeah. How far will the sewers take us to where the obelisk would? All the way beneath the city, and then some. We'll have to cross some open ground, but it won't be far from there. Or, Frank continued, and I want you to hear me out on this, regardless of word choice. Instead of wading through fake feces, we could cut a bloody swath through... Sewers, Frank. We can cut a bloody swath through the sewers. You promise? Absolutely, I said. Well, no, I take that back. We only swath if it's the right call. We kept going, and 6 more boats passed within sight of us, though thankfully none came close enough to be much of a threat. Then Frank had me turn toward what I assumed was the shore a little way down the coast. You need to move to the very front of the boat, right now, Frank said, his voice urgent. I jumped forward, then squinted into the water. It was dark here, more black than blue, but there were delicate shapes beneath the waves. Long, finger-like projections that the boat caught on something hard, jerked to a stop, and my momentum sent me toppling head over heels into the water. I thrashed and broke the surface, kicking up against the very shapes I'd seen below. They were smooth and slimy, but stationary and solid enough to stand on. I planned on it properly. I yanked Frank out of his loop and held him up above the surface. Really? I said. Now! Bathe in your shame, coward, Frank said. And relax, nobody's around. I jammed him back beneath the water and into his sheath, then swam back to the boat. It had caught on some mangrove-like plants whose tips barely jutted out of the water, and a quick glance at the shore told me they were only going to get thicker from here. I desummoned my boat and swam inland. After about 20 yards of swimming through the mist, the waters became shallow and the mangroves began to reach high above the waves in thick, snarling branches that would force me to climb over and through them. Or maybe not. I put my back to the shore and then activated Shade Drift, which sent me zooming through the mist. I resolved back into place on a swampy shoreline that stank of sulfur and mud. The mire beyond was abuzz with the sound of insects, and the dark trees were heavy with gray moss. Someone shouted off in the distance, and I tensed for a long moment, already picturing a horde of players heading my way with torches in hand, but nothing happened. I took a deep, steadying breath. I unsheathed Frank and stuck him back in his loot. "That water was gross," Frank said. "I did not appreciate that. You do know how sewers work, right? You're the one that threw us in." "Yeah, but it hit different when I was the one doing the throwing." "Focus, Frank. Sewers. I need the entry point. The mist is good cover, but I don't like how exposed we are right now. Just keep moving the way you've been going. You're on the right track." I sloshed my way through the swamp, sticking to the high ground as much as I could, hopping atop thick roots and the occasional oversized mushroom, some of which glowed with a pale green light of their own making. It had just started to rain, huge drops that were loud against the dark canopy, when I stumbled across a wide iron pipe whose mouth hung 5 feet above the waters. An iron gate spanned the width of the pipe, but it was open and banging in the wind, and an open padlock hung from one side with a rusty ladder beneath it. "Well, that's not good," Frank said. "Not good for you, or not good for me?" "For you and your stupid plan. I thought it'd still be locked, but somebody must have already found the key and opened the zone." I drew my guns, but kept them low. Someone's already inside. Thank God, right? Would have been so boring otherwise. If the sewers are positively crawling with people, we'll either have to find another way through or bail for now. Hate to say it out loud, but losing you is too much of a risk, despite how badly we need the auction house. "I am weighty," Frank said, "and important." "That you are." Thunder boomed overhead, and it felt like it wouldn't be long before the sky opened up and the rain started falling in earnest. I pulled up my stat sheet for encouragement. Ned, the first citizen, level 9, Tier 2 class, Shadeslinger, gear level 112 to 135, strength 18, dexterity 70 to 80, constitution 28 to 31, intelligence 75 to 85, wisdom 0, charisma 28, critical strike chance plus 2% to plus 4%, haste rating plus 0% to plus 2%, hit rating plus 0%, physical attack 0, magical attack 13 to 36, health 224 to 248, mana 750 to 850, armor 29%, magical resistance 38%. I sighed, content with the readout. I had finally accumulated some actual health. My mitigations were looking pretty decent too, and given that I was level 9, entering an area that started at level 6, pushing through the sewers seemed doable, players or not. I still had that D-grade gun to look forward to at level 10 as well, at which point my magical attack would almost double. I climbed up the ladder, hauled myself through the opening, and cocked an ear to the darkness. The air was cold and damp, and the sides of the pipe were beaded with moisture. It was slick and slimy underfoot, though somebody had set a chain into the wall which promised to serve as a useful handhold given the way the first section of pipe tilted upward. A blast of warm, humid air came rolling down the sewer, and I got a good whiff. Unsurprisingly,
too much clutter. much clutter. mana. Too much clutter.
Now that you've drained that passage, best I warn you about something. I was running down a wounded rower one night's eve when I glimpsed something in that waterlogged cavern. Looked a bit like a sand spitter, only the size of a bloody ox. I reckon it's nesting down in those flooded depths somewhere. If you're going that way, then do us a favor. Spill the old shield crab's guts before it gets hungry and comes looking for us. Managed to kill a granddaddy crab. A pity you couldn't lug it up out of the caves for us. Could have made quite the chowder out of it. No matter. We've got one less reason to fear the dark, and I've got one more thing to thank you for. I've traveled inland on the Emperor's Road via Prisoner's Gate. Had to skirt around Axiom Prison. That's the holdfast of Brutus the Warden. Bloody treacherous trip it was. Worth it? There's forest inland. Game, berries, fruit. More food than we can scrounge here. But most here wouldn't survive the journey. Would be a damn sight easier if we could pass through the prison. Tell you what. You carve us a path up the coast. Find us a way past or through Brutus. And you'll have more than a few lives owing to you. Stay sharp out there.
little help I can offer is yours. Goodbye.
No, I was never there.
Welcome. Stay sharp out there.